Welcome to this week's episode, the Sales Leader Survival Kit. In this episode, Jeff and Erin are joined by Mark Winter to break down one idea that changes everything. Clarity comes before decisions. If you're thinking new markets, new hires, or new tech, this conversation will help you make the right call for where you are right now.
Consultative sales means you know the impact you're making in your customers' metrics, not your own.
Highly Adaptive is a podcast where staffing and consulting leaders learn to outpace change. Hosted by Jeff Pelliccio and Erin MacKenzie, they'll cut through the noise to bring you practical moves you could use right now to grow, adapt, and lead. If you're coming off a rough year, what's the first thing you're thinking about? New markets, new tech, new hires? What if I told you the answer might be none of the above? I know, provocative, right? Stick with me though. We're about to help you build out your sales leader survival kit, because here's the catch. Most leaders are building the wrong kit entirely. They're working on expansion problems when they should be fixing retention. Enterprise tech when they need to be basically building process documentation. And it all comes down to skipping one step, figuring out where you actually are before you decide where you're going to go. Thankfully, Erin and I have got Mark Winter here in order to help make sense of it all. He spent over 20 years helping sales organizations get clear and get going. Now listen, just a quick warning for our listeners. This episode's side effects may include mild frustration, involuntary ego bruising, the uncomfortable realization that you've been solving the wrong problems, followed by a sudden clarity, an irrational urge to simplify everything, unexpected optimism, and in rare cases, an unshakable sense that you actually know what to do. Consult your leadership and sales teams if the symptoms persist. Erin, I think we got a good show.
I mean, listen to these side effects. I feel like we're that fast commercial. And here's where you're at. But I'm loving this. I mean, I think we need to truly introduce Mark, the person behind all of the side effects that you've just thrown out here. So you guys, I am excited to introduce Mark Winter, who is the principal and CEO of WinSource Group. He has helped staffing and recruiting organizations build truly smarter, honestly, more effective sales engines. I've known Mark for a long time, and I've seen what he does on stage and on the vendor floor and chatting with people through and through. But Mark, you have probably held almost like every sales role possible, probably some that you would choose to forget, from branch manager up to VP of sales and enablement. I mean, you've done this for like multi-billion-dollar public companies. And I'm pretty sure that you have enough certifications. I mean, you have your Six Sigma black belt, you have a master certified sales trainer. I think the one thing and what we're really excited about here that we want to kind of bring out above everything else is you're here really telling sales leaders what they need to hear, whether they want to hear it or not. So we're super excited to have you here, Mark.
Well, thanks for having me here. I appreciate being here. I always like those nice intros. Makes me feel super good about myself. Wish my kids could hear it. But since it's recorded, I'll make them listen to it later.
I love it. We'll introduce you on every conversation. Okay, Mark. I always like to kind of do a fun fact of people before we like dive into truly the sales kit here and the survival sales kit. There's two things you shared with us. One, I love it. You were in the Army and you got to actually take 6 months away to truly play chess and didn't have to be out there doing all the grueling work that everyone else was, which I'm sure there was a lot of jealousy that was going on. And that's like a whole nother conversation. When we bring you back on for part 2, I want to dive into this as well.
By the way, it was over the winter time too, and we were in Germany at the time, so it was fantastic. I didn't have to be outside. I had polished boots every day, clean clothes. It was fantastic.
And you were so probably much warmer than the rest of everyone else that was out there.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking about winter, you shared you're looking for a client that potentially is going to be living in the Cleveland area. And if we can find a client from this podcast, there might be a discount that could be associated with it. But you have a love and a passion for our good old friend Ralphie from the movie A Christmas Carol. And you have found out that the Christmas Carol house is actually rentable on Airbnb. I love this. So do you have the leg lamp?
I do. I will have a mini version of the leg lamp. I'm waiting for my kids to pony up and get me the full-size version. But I expect that that'll happen this year. We'll see. So I know we're recording this before Christmas, so it's a little bit of we won't know till after the new year. I also have Ralphie's pink bunny suit, which is fairly traumatic when you see me in it for the first time. A 6-foot pink nightmare coming at you for the Christmas party. But I tend to bust that out for Christmas parties. And if I do get opportunity to spend the night in the Christmas Story house in Cleveland, I will absolutely wear that pink bunny outfit on the front porch while I sip coffee in the morning. So there's that.
We definitely need pictures, but I am curious. In playing chess for the Army, using those mind powers, did you ever win a major award?
Not that type of major award. Nope. But every day was an award in itself. It was so much fun.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Yep.
All right. So, Mark, we're opening up this episode and we want to ask sales leaders what they're thinking about, throughout the year. New markets, new tech, new hires. Can you paint a picture for us? Like, what is it that you're seeing right now today? As leaders are going through this particular climate in this particular moment.
Yeah. So I feel like leaders are searching for answers. So Erin mentioned in my very kind intro there about certifications and stuff. I got to be honest, I chased a lot of those certifications because I too, back in the day, as a sales leader, was looking for the answers. I thought there's got to be a magic bullet out there. There's got to be some magic answer that I'm missing or not seeing. What I found out over the years is sometimes there is, but I feel like right now, more than in many years past, sales leaders they're looking for validation. Like they feel their gut says this might be right, but I'm not really sure. So they're reaching out for validation. Some of them are looking around for what's next. Some of them are my people focused on the right things? Is this really the right stuff? So there's a lot of questions out there they're searching for something. They're in that mode. Now, we're in a time where we got more data than ever. So it's kind of ironic that people are in that space where they're looking for validation and they're looking for the right activities. And we've got all this data that tells us kind of where to go and what to do and what our customers are thinking and all those things. So I think some of the magic that sales leaders have to be looking at is bringing those two things together. Take your own gut instinct and your own actions that have produced fruit and measure that against some of the data. But that's hard to do when you're in flight. It's like trying to paint a moving ship. It's tough to do.
Do you think they're like avoiding that combination of looking at the data together with where everything is? Or is that shocking that they're not kind of focusing on that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
It's not shocking because they've had great luck in the past doing some of the basics. You hear people say, we're going to go back to basics. We're going to go back to the fundamentals. This is the first time in a decade or more where the fundamentals may not apply. You might be in a market, you might be in a space where the world has changed. Things have changed a lot. I know we say that, but in sales, if you looked up in 2000, 2005, 2010, and maybe even 2013, if you Googled sales process, through that whole span, you would probably find a really similar sales process that frankly didn't evolve or adapt all that much.
Yep.
You look at the sales process now, it's completely different. It looks like a plate of spaghetti. It is all over the place. And if sales leaders have not started to get their head around that, and they're still trying to go back to the 2013 ways of doing things because it worked for them when they were a young buck, they're going to be in for a rude awakening.
So they're basically chasing the wrong things now is really where we're at.
Yeah, sometimes. And then, there are people that are on the outskirts of our industry that, frankly, are given some bad advice. I'm going to reel that back in. Not bad advice, maybe ill-timed advice. So, for instance, there is great power in having the best possible tech. If you're on a downturn, though, and your people aren't producing, that's the worst possible time to make a tech change, as an example. If you have no salespeople or ineffective salespeople, that's the worst possible time to invest in marketing automation and drive leads into your salespeople's hands. That would be awful. Now, well-meaning folks out there might give both of those pieces of advice, and they could be good pieces of advice when given at the right time. And I feel like that's something that leaders are struggling with is what is my point in time in the organization right now? Where am I? Not where is everybody else, not where is the industry, but where am I based on all the economic and market components and data pieces that I should be looking at.
All right. So Mark, I understand what it is that you're saying here, but like, are they avoiding something? Is there something that is sort of like either that they're just trying to not have to deal with, or like, are they still really waiting for the market to turn back? Like what is causing this dilemma?
Yeah. So I think two things. They are avoiding some stuff in some cases. One is doing the work of enveloping their customer. Like that requires work. That requires being on the ground. That requires, we went through this period of transformation where businesses thought, well, can I reduce my footprint? Can I reduce my overhead? Can I run a geography from a remote location? Some cases they could, some industries they could, but some places that's just not effective in the staffing world. And so there's a hesitancy to go back to, it feels like they're going backwards to then, really penetrate the market and get close to the customer and create the structure that you need to support your customer in person. So that's one thing that is potentially being avoided. Is it's going to take work, and frankly, it's going to take some grunt work, some actual grunt work. If you're lucky enough to be able to run a business remote and have all your salespeople at an inside call center out of Chicago and do everything centrally, good for you. But that's not a model that's sustainable for everybody.
Sure.
Some places the customer needs a throat to choke. They want to see you, and you're going to have to be there on the doorstep. The other thing is, there's this, I'm getting a sense that many companies, many sales leaders don't truly have a picture of their competitor. They don't know who their competitors are. They know them by name, but they don't know what they're good at. They don't know what their plans are. They don't know what their pricing structure is. They don't know how much they're impacting their market until it's too late, until they've taken one of their top 10 customers, until they've infiltrated one of their best accounts. And I feel like that's an avoidance thing. Your best customers are the top 10 prospects in your competitor's CRM. And that should keep sales leaders up at night. That should be keeping you awake. If it's not, that's a problem, because I got to tell you, these young whippersnapper salespeople are trying to figure out how to pull those customers away from you. And they're thinking about it all day.
It's so true.
What a great perspective.
Oh yeah. And that competitive, I'm big on doing competitive analysis, doing competitive battle cards. Where are you at? What are their top? I think it's huge. And if you don't have that in your game plan, you're missing out. Like you said, like sometimes I think you think staffing firms are a little bit more hesitant to do this. A question for you, Mark. Because it seems like some of these leaders are kind of chasing some of the wrong things. They're not chasing what you've just laid out. How do they figure out where they should focus, where they should go, and what are the steps for them to take, whether it's competitive analysis, whether it's kind of just diving into understanding the entire process across the board? Where do they need to go from there?
The field. Get out in the field. 2026, if you haven't done it a long time, or you haven't been out there, get out in the field once a month.
So Cleveland is what you're saying. Get out to Cleveland.
Pick me up at the airport in Cleveland. I'll be staying at the Christmas storehouse, and we can leave early in the morning. Get out in the field. If you can't do it once a month, do it once a quarter. I'm not saying that every VP of sales or every CSO has to be out there pulling doors or making cold calls, but you should see how it's changed, and you need to see it for yourself, because it's changed. And get out there and listen to your customers. Get out there and listen to your prospects, and get out there and see how much of an impact your competition's having on your salespeople. Get out there and see your salespeople using tools in real time. Whatever you can spare, do it.
Yeah. And this sort of goes to like the opener of this entire episode, right? Like knowing where you are and making decisions from that standpoint, right? Like from that jump off point. So, and look, I love the idea of like, hey, sales leaders, get involved, roll up your sleeves, like be a part of the process, like do the digging, get your hands dirty. There's no better way to figure out what's working and what's not than to actually get involved. But I also do worry that if we said blindly, get involved, I think that what we end up with is people still doing the wrong things. I feel like the assessment will be, this isn't how I would do it. The reason why this call didn't go well is because you didn't say this thing at this moment. And they're not really taking a clear assessment of that situation. So maybe we can just give some guidance to when you show up as a leader in order to do an assessment or an evaluation, in order to understand quote, where you are, like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So let's talk about what they're assessing. So you just gave an example of, hey, I wouldn't do it that way, or that might not have been the way I'd do it back in the day. That's not the assessment. The assessment is, what do my people need for support? What do they need? So the most critical role in the sales hierarchy right now is the middle manager, the sales leader, the sales manager. Let me throw this bold statement out there. I would rather have a great sales manager and subpar salespeople than I would to have 3 or 4 great salespeople with no leadership. So I can get more done with a better sales leader and even average or even lower than average sales performers. So, and that sounds counterintuitive, right? Well, because back in the day, I needed some really rock star fighter pilot style salespeople that could just go out there and kill it. Those guys are having a really hard time right now because so much of the way customers are engaging with us has changed that the old stuff isn't working for them either. So what you need is a sales leader who can coach and support. And so that CSO that's out riding around, that's seeing things and observes, well, okay, that call didn't go the way I would have expected it to go, or that call didn't go the way I wanted it to go, should then be thinking to themselves, how do my mid-level sales leaders need to coach in that scenario? What do we need for coaching there? Do they need pipeline reviews? Do they need ride-alongs? Do they need role plays, support and encouragement, tools and automation to help things go smoother, and provide that? That's what they're providing. That's what they're assessing is, how can I create this guardrails and cushion for my salespeople through my sales management layer? Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense on that. I mean, and you need to have that strong middle sales leader in order to also build up the folks below it. But I mean, my question would be around, how honest do you think leaders are as they're assessing their situations and where there needs to be the guardrails or additional coaching? How do they get honest with themselves to kind of see that?
Yeah, well, sometimes, that's sometimes where that's where consultants come in, right? So to put a shameless plug in, sometimes you just need validation from somebody outside.
Sure.
It doesn't matter if it's a marketing consultant, sales consultant, process consultant. You just need someone to. We see that all the time where there are problems identified in a business and people are talking about it and raising it as an issue. And then we come in and we say, hey, have you ever thought about changing this? And they're like, that's a great idea. And then 4 of the other directors are smacking their head like, we've been talking about that for a year. Why does it take somebody? So
we've all been there.
So long answer to say, sometimes you need to bring in other people, outsiders, just to get an outside perspective. But those sales leaders, they need to take a good hard look at themselves and say, listen, if it's not working, then you've got to be open to ideas. You've got to be open to mining for what's actually happening out in the marketplace. And you can't do this. When I suggest that they go out, notice how I said monthly or quarterly or something. It's don't just make knee-jerk decisions based on one ride along when you haven't been out in the field in 3 years. Like, you got to go out there a few times and kind of bank your feedback and think of it as like, all right, Q1, I'm going to compile all my feedback. I'm going to measure that against what I'm hearing from my sales directors or sales managers and salespeople. And then we're going to think about retooling our sales strategy or structure or what have you. So, but part of it is just recognizing the first thing to fixing a problem is realizing you have one. So,
so true.
You've got issues.
So true.
You got issues.
So now we know where the problem is, or the leaders now know where they are in that spaghetti, the pile of spaghetti that you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about sort of like what a tiered survival kit would look like, right? Like as soon as when we were sort of staging for this episode, it had me thinking about how I shop at REI or whatever, right? Like, I'm not going to climb the north face of whatever, but man, those jackets look cool, right? So like, I know when I'm buying outside of what I'm reaching for in this space, like, what do they need to actually focus on? And how do they then use this idea of like where they are as their starting point to then leverage the appropriate survival kit?
So it starts with the head of sales understanding what the organization needs to achieve and the resources that they need in order to hit those achievements throughout the course of the year. So let me give you an example. So we say, all right, we want a 20% bump in sales. $10 million company, we want a 20% bump. We got to do $12 million. So great. First step is, what's my retention rate? So if I'm at an 80% retention rate, then I know I now need to make up $4 million in sales for this upcoming year. Only a couple ways I can do it. I can grow existing accounts. I can bring in new logos. I can keep the business, that I can increase my retention rate. Those are really the only three ways I can bring that revenue. I could raise bill rates or something. But the sales leader has to have the understanding of where do I want to drive that revenue. So head of sales, CSO, they're thinking on that level, because all of those decisions are going to feed your structural decisions, like tell you how many salespeople you need or how many account managers you need, or that's going to give you a pragmatic approach to say, what do I need for resources to actually get that $4 million across the line? Do you know how many staffing companies have not done that much work?
Like the basic math.
The basic
Figuring out
math.
where to start. Yeah, you're working backwards here.
Right? The average sales rep, the average really good, well-trained sales rep, their first year in the business, whether they have experience in staffing or not, should be pulling 3 to 5x on their base salary for gross margin dollars. So meaning if you hire a $50,000 or a $60,000 sales rep, let's say, that sales rep in their first full 12 months after training should be bringing in somewhere between $180,000 and $300,000 in gross profit. If you're running a 20% margin, you're looking at your sales rep bringing in $1 million their first year. That's what they should be bringing in, right? I have a $4 million goal. Guess how many sales reps I need? 4, potentially, unless I'm going to get some of that business from residual or increased growth of accounts. Like that whole ball of math should be done, and you should be making plans off of that. Not the other way around. Not the, well, I've got offices in 3 different cities, so maybe I'll get one sales rep to see if they can sell in those 3 different cities, and hopefully I'll make that $4 million target. That's not the way. It just doesn't work. You're right. Yeah, you can't. I mean, rub a lamp, and I was going back to the lamp thing. Don't rub that lamp.
Your leg lamp. We're gonna rub the leg lamp. Our magical genie.
People look too weird when you rub the leg lamp.
So, I mean, Mark, this is like insightful here, because I mean, really, if you do the work ahead of time, you figure out how to get to your 4 mil, you have your new sales rep, they're doing 3.5x. This really becomes your stabilization. This is kind of your stabilization phase. You know that you're in a good spot, so then you can continue growth and your retention to where you're going to go. But I mean, as you're along this journey and we're kind of diving into the survival kit modes here, what are the tools or investments that I should avoid along the way? Because we all know if I'm surviving and Jeff doesn't want to bring some like 50-pound axe with him if he's just going out on a mild hike, but he was at REI and got convinced to buy this. So where should he avoid, and what do we need to do from a sales side? Look at my new ice pick, but I'm hiking in summer.
I would be, if it were up to me, and there's going to be people that just hate this advice, be careful how much data you purchase on the marketing side, like Zoom Info or Apollo or systems like that. I know you want to put names and roles and company information in the hands of your salespeople. Based on the market conditions right now, those marketing dollars would be so much better spent putting up a trade show booth at the right trade show, or investing in an event for your customers to boost business, or a grand reopening of your branch, or bringing customers together for a customer appreciation event and rekindling relationships that haven't been kindled in a long time. So I would just say be smart about your tech spend when it comes to data right now, because prospects are building barriers around themselves. While you're out spending 20 grand on a Zoom Info set of credits, they're putting in a phone system that weeds out all spam calls.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're bringing a rubber mallet to a concrete wall. It's not gonna work.
You definitely are seeing a diminished return, a diminished response when it comes to leveraging those sources like you were talking about, right? There's without a doubt, there's some value if you're trying to sort of like navigate an org chart. You need to know sort of who's involved or what have you, but it needs to be a much more strategic play right? The idea of buying the list is basically what you're talking about, right? Well, I paid for those contacts. I'm just going to hit them with a blast and it's going to result in business. If it was that easy, everyone would do it, but it's not.
Yeah, that's
It doesn't
right.
build rapport. And the thing I love about your recommendation is in so many ways, I mean, I hate to use the terminology, but like getting to basics, you're talking about nurturing the community, right? And whether that be from a farming exercise, right, by doing that appreciation element where, you have an opportunity to now maybe be introduced to additional managers within the organization you already bill, or by nurturing the community that you already support, like, why not participate in those areas that help gain greater traction in that space? So I absolutely love the recommendations. I support them 100%, with regards to that. So let's say you and I are in that conversation and I say, all right, Mark, well, look, like, here's what I have access to. I only have the means or the budget or the time or the resources or the capabilities to really go down one given path. Like, what's sort of the litmus test that we use in order to determine, like, which one I should go down and why it would be most fruitful or provide the most potential?
It goes back to that first question of where's your revenue coming from now and what do you expect to retain and what do you need? So if you're in a business that's doing that 10 million bucks and you're rocking an 80% retention rate, and you're on a less volatile staffing side. So let's say you're in IT or healthcare or something like that, that's a little bit less volatile. Then I would say your best course of business would be focus on customer retention. Figure out where the bleed's coming from. Focus on that customer retention because you can make up an easy $2 million just by keeping what you already have. So that may not cost you all that much headcount, right? If you're on a super volatile side of staffing, like construction or light industrial, where people are turning, and I'm talking about the ebbs and flows of light industrial, and you've got an 80% retention rate, well, that's actually not that bad. That's actually a really good retention rate. And so what I might do there is know that I need to bring in some more logos. And so I need feet on the street. I need a hunter. I need somebody to go out there and be the hunter and pull doors for me and bring some new logos to the table. So it's kind of thinking about, well, what does the organization need based on what are the expectations of the business? I just want to throw a caveat out there. I did not address, there are going to be some staffing companies who triple down on tech. Like they are going to be a tech-first staffing company. That's a great play in today's world. There are going to be some customers out there who want that, who they want to manage from the other side of a laptop and they want to allow you to manage from the other side of a laptop. If that's your space, great. Run with it. Stay focused on that space. Be a tech leader in that space. I'm not downplaying tech at all. But what I see is there are a lot more companies out there. Of the 28,000 staffing companies, 20,000 of them aren't prepared to triple down on tech. They don't have their own app. They don't have sophisticated software. They're subscribing to something like Bullhorn or Aviante or something that's pretty industry standard, right? Really good industry standard software, but not in itself a full differentiator. And so those companies have to find differentiation elsewhere. And right now, the best differentiation is being present, being in front of your customer. So I just wanted to call out, there are going to be people who are tech leaders, and that's a fine tip of the spear. But my experience says that's not going to be the vast majority.
And here's the nuance I think is worth mentioning, is if you want to be the head of the spear, the tip of the spear with regards to technology, buying a democratized solution doesn't make you innovative, right? So by doing that, if you're the first person out the gate participating with whatever the prepackaged assembly is, then you will be nuanced for just a moment. And before you know it, well, everybody else around you is going to be using the same democratized solution. So moving into this highly tech space, like I'm with you. Like I think it's fascinating. I do. I think it's also, it creates its own challenges in a sort of human-centric sort of service that we're dealing with here. But at the same time, like you cannot be embedded in classic staffing agency models, adopt a technology that's being sold widely across the entire industry, and then think you're going to go to market with a real differentiation. Like you really need to bake this in at the core levels of the organization and revamp almost everything about who you are in order to serve the market in that fashion. Like, that's Man.
Or you've got to take that democratized software and couple it with something that's special, right? You can wrap something around it that's really special. I'll tell you, I've had a couple people disagree with me on this, but my philosophy, my belief since COVID has been that staffing agencies will ultimately end up going down a very similar path as travel agencies. Now, that may sound super scary to people, but if you look at the travel agencies that exist today, they're not hurting. They're not. I mean, do they have to work hard? Yes, they have to work hard. But they've found a niche, and that niche is, hey, we recognize that our total addressable market, a certain portion of them are going to self-serve. They're going to go to Priceline and Orbitz and all those other. They're going to go right to the airlines themselves and set up all their travel. But then there's a certain subset of the market that wants white glove service. They don't want to have to worry about things. It turned the travel agencies into not just a place where you bought an airline ticket, but a service delivery business, which was, don't worry about it. We got this for you. We got this handled. And then there were some others that said, okay, well, as part of our function, we're going to envelop ourselves in a business, and we're going to handle all business travel for an organization. So I'm really getting close partnerships. Sorry, my dogs are barking in the background.
You're good. So sorry. Your dog is ready to travel right now is really what I think is going on right now, Mark.
Shut his heater off, too.
Oh, we did. We shut his heater off. He's hating us right now. But I think that's such a great perspective because, I don't disagree with you. I think it's going to be how do we shift gears from the mentality of finding that niche? There could be a level of technology that plays into it for giving the white glove service. But like you said, I don't think technology is a differentiator in the path forward, unless you can really find some type of different technology that is going to drive you in a different direction to help you with that hunter mentality, which will be interesting. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit on us. Sorry, Jeff and Mark, but I wanted to dive into something because it's something we haven't really talked about yet, but I think it's important to kind of bring up because everyone, when I'm chatting with different leaders in different staffing firms, they all say they want consultative selling. But what do they usually mean when you hear this? And I know, Mark, you've heard this a lot, versus what should they mean when you think about consultative selling?
Yeah. Okay. This is such a timely thing because every year I put together 2 or 3 keynotes that I present. I'll go to conferences and present. And one of the 3 that I've done this year is straight around consultative selling because we have twisted that into something unrecognizable. So here's what some staffing companies think of as consultative selling. They think to themselves, all right, I'm going to be a consultant, so I'm not going to ask the client how many people they need. I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask them, what do you need people for? Tell me about how you're going to use these people. And then as soon as they get that answer, they're like, cool, how many of those do you need? And we're right back to square one, commoditizing ourselves. And they pat themselves on the back. Did you see that consultative play? That was great. True consultative selling. The way I know that an organization is a consultant type organization is they have the same objectives as their customer. So what I mean by that is if I'm a consultative seller in staffing, I look at my light industrial customer and I know how much I've increased their productivity. I know how much of their staff is contingent and what makes that ebb and flow. I know how many boxes per day hit the loading dock. I know how many end customers they serve and whether or not that customer number is growing or shrinking. If I'm that tuned in to my customer's business, then I'm a consultant. If I'm measuring myself on fill rate and turnover rate, then you're just Joe Blow staffing.
Every other person.
And that's still, you need to do that, but that's not consultative sales. Consultative sales means you know the impact you're making in your customers' metrics, not your own.
So it's truly leveraging the expertise that you have in the industry that you serve as a way to, be that resource for the community, and in order to build rapport that eventually drives business. So we're talking about a much more elongated sales cycle now, albeit if you...
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And if you prepare your organization as such, like eventually it catches up to itself, right? You'll still have your quick turns and you'll still have your long turns, but like building a rapport is, it's a much stronger play from a pipeline perspective. Does it have like real impacts on margins?
Yes.
Like if someone was to spend that extra time?
Yes, it sure does. So we have a client, I won't tell you who, but we have a client that we worked with after the pandemic. So I don't know, it must have been 21, 22, somewhere in there. We did some basic consultative stuff. Like we did what I would consider level 1, maybe level 2 of consultative selling training. What we did was, because as a consultant, I measure myself the same way my customers measure themselves, like margin and sales and all those things. So we snapped a chalk line and said, okay, what's our current margin? Here's what we found. Short story was, every new account that came in after the time that we did the consultative sales approach was 2 margin points higher than at any point in the company's past years of margin. So the new accounts were coming in 2 margin points higher simply because we had made a shift in the way that we were addressing my clients' customers. They expected to pay more. They weren't surprised by bill rates. The pricing conversation got deferred. Now, did that happen all the time? No, but 2 margin points for this particular company, that's a lot of dough. That's a lot of gross profit that flowed to the bottom line. That's huge. And like I said, we only covered like level 1, level 2. There's multiple. You can get really good at this consultative approach, and you start talking about helping your customers as a staffing company with overall workforce management. It opens up doors to other facets like payroll, helping them with workforce management through VMS or MSP type stuff, direct hire on upper level roles. I mean, it opens up all kinds of doors for customers.
So Mark, you said level 1, level 2. Are these tiers that you have then within consultative, or like does consultative selling look different in a survival mode kind of setting versus we need to thrive?
Yes, I think there are tiers. And so just to give you an idea, I think the first step to consultative selling is having salespeople who don't walk into a business navel gazing, like just staring at themselves. And that's frankly how so many salespeople approach things. They're like, hey, you want to hear a little bit about me? Can I talk to you about me and my company and tell you why we're great? If you can get them out of that mode, that's like level 1 consultative selling. I'm here because I recognize you. I see you. This is an industry we serve. Like that's level 1. Level 2 might be being able to ask the right questions and doing deep, thorough discovery on goals and objectives of that buyer and that organization. That would be a solid level 2. Level 3 might be having conversations around vendor management, overall goals and objectives for the calendar year or for segments of that calendar year. Strategic planning comes to mind. Stop and start investments comes to mind. Deeper levels of account management come to mind. So you can ratchet up to some really intricate consultative approaches, but many companies would just welcome the idea of the benefits that would come from level 1. Like just get people differentiating themselves and creating a moment where customers were inviting them in. Because you know how many staffing leaders I talk to that say, if my people could just get in front of buyers, they'd do a great job. Level 1 consultative selling is let's get in front of some buyers. Let's get in front of some people.
So you just mentioned an awful lot of variables in this mix, which I love. So I want to kind of bring this into like this next space, which is how do you keep this from becoming a runaway train? Right? Like all I could picture sales leaders listening to this right now thinking, oh, sure, like they're going to go out, they're talking about all kinds of things, but how do I get my calls done? How do I get these deals in? How do we make sure we hit revenue? Like, what are the guardrails that get put in place either from a sales enablement perspective or from a process perspective that govern this concept?
The guardrails are dependent on the expectations that you want to come from the investment in the organization. So if I want my salespeople to differentiate through the sales process, then you have to spend some time taking them out of the field and making that happen. And it's a risk. Yes, it's a risk. They're not going to make their activity numbers for a couple of weeks when you do that. There will be a shift. But if it's done well, if it's done right, then the juice should be worth the squeeze, right? We should get a better return. out of those salespeople when they go back to the field. If you think that you're going to level up your consultative approach by providing a once a month lunch and learn to 10 people who have the option to show up or not, you're not going to see much movement in that, and your investment's probably going to fall flat. So I would get really clear about what you want to see from that investment, tie back to that goal number for 2026, and figure out, like, I think a reasonable goal. If I were giving sales training to just basic staffing organization, light industrial, I would say that after you do some sales training, you should expect to see a 5 or 10% bump in productivity from your salespeople. That's a perfectly reasonable goal. You want more than that, then you might have to invest in more than that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's a definite true statement. I mean, and I love that you need to get clear. You need to really understand where are you going, what's the clarity on that, which is huge.
I'm sorry, one more thing. I'm just going to throw it out there since we're talking a little bit about training and consultative approach. I am not, my own personal philosophy is training as an event does not work. Meaning, if you think that you're just going to hire Mark or anybody like Mark to come in for 2 days and do training and things are going to change, not the case. Goes back to that mid-level sales leader that we talked about earlier. If I had to spend my training, if I had minimal training dollars and was going to focus on who to train in the organization, I would put that mid-level manager through training before, if it was a choice, before I put my end users through training. Don't try to change the end users without the middle manager being part of that.
That reminds me of the conversation actually that Leanne just had with us, where she was saying you need to write your own story, right? You can't just adopt someone else's playbook and drop it in and think it's going to work remarkably well to be your own footprint. Like, you've got to be able to have your own piece that you're working from. I love this. I feel like we could do this like literally for hours. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Erin, go ahead.
No, I think it was key. I mean, I'm a big believer in training is not a one-time thing as well. Like, training, you have to have your training, and you have to have continuous training, and you got to be involved. And it's not like you just bring Mark in one time. You bring Mark in consistently because you have to evolve, you have to grow.
Or bring Mark in one time and then bring Mark back to make sure the leaders have it, and then do some application. Like, part of my job is to work myself out of a job, right? I want to make sure that you have that intern. This isn't like perpetual training. We train, we let people apply, we reinforce, then we manage and coach. That's how it should work. And so you get as much support as you need to in that environment. The other thing that I would say, I'm on this soapbox. You got me on the soapbox now.
I love this. Keep going, Mark. Keep going. I'm loving the energy.
Differentiation is such a key right now because we are becoming a service industry. And so you have to differentiate. You've got to do something that's different. And so it is so counterproductive to send your people to a blended training. If you've found a training and you're going to send your people to a workshop, like I'm a proponent of Miller Heiman. I'll throw them under the bus, right? So Miller Heiman is great. It's good sales training sometimes. I would not take my salespeople and send 5 salespeople to a 15-person Miller Heiman training and expect huge differentiation when they come back. They might bring back some good ideas, but if they can't take the Miller Heiman training and bring that back to my organization and make it organizational level training, then nothing's really changed. So be careful of this group think of training. That sales leader needs to think about, how can I train my people so that they have a branded sales process, a branded consultative sales process that's repeatable, that's uniquely ours. That's the win. Right now, that's the win. That's what's going to get buyers' attention.
Completely agree with you. And Mark, you mentioned something. You talked about blending. You talked about blending the sales and training element. But I also know that you're passionate about really blending sales and marketing as well. And if you were to paint your dream state, we're going to visualize a whiteboard right now. And on this whiteboard, we have like
Cleveland.
Right? We have Cleveland, and Cleveland has a whole bunch of pieces that we're putting up on it, where we have like our collateral map to process. What does this dream state whiteboard look like for you, with Ohio as the state, as the backdrop, kind of backdrop that we have?
I'm glad you asked that, because I am super passionate about that whole thing. I think that there's a couple of really easy fundamentals that sales leaders can put into place. And one is understanding our sales process current state. So you should have a current state sales process. You should have a desired state sales process. So the desired state, obviously aspirational, but we should all be clear on what our current state sales process is today. And I'm picturing it drawn up on a whiteboard. So there it is. There's a table below the whiteboard, and below that sales process that's written on the whiteboard is marketing collateral or pieces of marketing components that support each stage of that sales process. So when I meet someone for the first time, what do I leave behind? Maybe it's just a business card. Maybe it's a trifold. Maybe it's a card. Maybe it's, I don't know. But you should be clear on that, because if you're not clear on that, guess what? It's not happening at all. Nobody's leaving anything. So now I've met someone. I've got a gatekeeper who's going to pass my information on. Well, what information is he or she passing on? What have I left? Now I've got someone that I've talked to a couple of times and I'm asking for action, but they're kind of ghosting me. Well, what about the case study that we did 3 years ago that's really good, that's all dusty in the back room? We've got printed copies of. Shouldn't we maybe get one of those over there so we kind of inspire some action, something's relevant to that prospect? So I have this dream where they've got the process up on the board, and then they've got each piece of collateral that they need to support the parts of the sales process below it, and they know exactly what gets used and how it gets used so that they're making use of that marketing investment. That's like phase one. And guess what? Here's the good news. Doesn't cost you a dime. Probably already have all that collateral. I don't care if it's a little outdated. That's Jeff's area. He'll help you fix all that stuff. But listen, I get it. It needs new branding or something's misspelled, whatever. Just get the crap out there. Get it out in people's hands. Yeah. It's doing you no good in the back room or in the cardboard box in somebody's trunk. So put it below its phase in the sales process. Get it out.
First, thank you so much for actually calling this into the actual conversation. So how do we're talking about an alignment issue, right?
Yeah.
And there is a constant struggle between sales and marketing, I feel like, right? Like at what point, like where does sales stop and marketing pick up and vice versa? Where does marketing stop and sales pick up? And who has the ownership of like what the brand strategy is? And then who has the ownership of what the go-to-market strategy is? And then, well, if it's written, then marketing always writes things. So that must be a marketing job versus a sales job. So I want to bring this to you. How do we fix this alignment issue? Because you just laid out in a great analogy of like basically having all the materials laid out for you, and that when there's this thing, you're going to use this thing and so forth. I do think that there is a fundamental benefit to providing people recipes, but I also think that we need to teach them how to fish as well. Otherwise, what we end up with is a stopgap when they get to a situation that doesn't fit any of those criteria. So how do we leverage these efforts within an organization more smartly, and how do we get real alignment?
The answer, I don't think, is going to be consistent for every company. And that's part of the magic, is doing what you need to do, not what everybody else is doing, right? So one of the first questions I would ask is, tell me about all of your new customers from last year. How did they find you? How did you get those new customers? And then capitalize on whatever engine is already running that got you those customers. So you might say, well, we have leads coming over. We have 3 to 10 leads coming to our website every week. Great. Well, guess what? You need marketing to continue to be the tip of the spear and continue to drive that education and continue to keep that automation going so that you keep that lead funnel flowing the way it is. That's awesome. That tells me that you have some sort of brand market presence out there that is driving people to make the decision to inquire with you. That's great. So marketing, in that case, tip of the spear. In another market, we might say, you know what? We've been in this market for 2 years. We really don't have a strong foothold. We've got a lot of competitive pressure. All of our sales, new customers, have come through our salespeople. Okay, well, there's your answer. So continue to invest in that. Double down on that, because that's what's going to give you your marketing presence, and then slowly layer in some of this marketing. Maybe it starts with marketing collateral and doing some trade shows that push people to your website. And so you start really small with like a small web presence or some sort of engagement or something on your website that attracts customers, but somewhere that your salespeople can push leads that aren't closing immediately. Just a couple examples of how this can go different directions. You can, but I think it's based on where are you right now and what's working for you. Just capitalize on that.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, that is some great insights there. So Mark, Jeff opened up our entire kind of podcast here with like a warning, and he had side effects. I don't know where that came from, but that's what he went with. But for the leader who came into this episode experiencing some of these side effects, potentially frustration, or maybe feeling behind, what's the version of like do the work, my air quotes, do the work that should actually make them more optimistic?
Oh, let me think about that for a second. What's the version of do the work that would make them more optimistic? Here's the deal. If Jeff and I or Erin and I were to get in a car and go to any town USA with a bag of marketing materials, Cleveland, let's say Cleveland. Let's just say we were to meet in Cleveland.
Let's say
for a couple of days. And we grab a bag of marketing materials and we grab the business cards of any company that would be willing to sponsor that trip to Cleveland. And we passed out business cards for several days, like just walked around with a minimal script, a website that could handle maybe a client inquiry or something. And we just started going out and having conversations, having no idea what anything about the market, because I've not spent much time in Cleveland. If we did that over and over for multiple days, the phone would ring. The phone would ring. Business would come in. And I bet you in short order, we'd accidentally close a deal. We'd get to a point where we're like, you do? You would like to hear something else? You want to
Really? You want to talk to me?
I'm gonna have to call somebody. All right, Hank, cool. Let's get this done. We would accidentally close something. So the solace that this sales leader can have out there is that by getting your boots dirty, by getting out in the field, by doing this work, it will produce a return. You're gonna get some business. You're gonna see it. You can't help but see it. There's only one of a couple. If you're not seeing it, then either now it could be that it's a horrendous market. There's nothing happening in the market. All right, fair enough. Maybe I'd validate that with data. Could be that we're just going to all the wrong doors, right? We're in an industrial staffing company knocking on lawyers' office. All right, well, we're going to retool our ideal customer profile. Short of that, though, we would be closing deals. The phone would be ringing. We would get email responses. And it does not take a lot of time. I'm talking weeks. In fact, if you hire a new sales rep, I would make this challenge to people out there. You hire a sales rep, you arm them with a minimal amount of marketing material, you get somebody who's got the backbone to do the actual work, that has the grit and determination to get out in the field. You give them bags of marketing material, a minimal script, and you just turn them loose. If they haven't closed the deal in 30 days, I'd be shocked. They're going to accidentally close. I mean, that's just how the market is now, but it won't happen sitting behind a phone making 30 days worth of phone calls.
Got to do the work.
You know, it's funny. There was a guy that I used to work for who used to tell me, like, if you just go out and talk to people, like, good things happen. And that's basically what you're saying, right? You're saying, like, you have to just do that work, put in the time, put in the effort, be deliberate about it, and, you know, things will start to turn, even if it's accidentally, almost like a squirrel nut situation. Like, you're going to uncover something that'll turn. I love this. All right. So let's talk about, like, let's land the plane for everyone, right? We'll kind of get everybody to a finishing spot soon. All right. So what's the one thing that leaders should stop doing? And what's the one thing that they should start doing right now?
Stop looking for the magic thing. It's not a magic thing. It's going to take hard work. That's the thing. Put the work in, break some backs, get some calluses, good things will happen. So stop looking for the magic thing. If you find things that make the work more palatable, that make the back not hurt so much, great, you win. But stop thinking there's going to be a cure-all for it. There just isn't right now. And as far as things to do, I would say provide clarity to your team. Make sure your team is clear. So you need to be clear on that structural piece that we talked about, like where's your revenue going to come from? Once that's clear, then your people need to be clear on their ideal customer profile. Your people need to be clear. One of the best exercises you can do is go tell your people how much time you expect them to be selling and what you expect them to produce, and compare it against what they thought you wanted them to do. You know how many, I do that exercise with leaders. Sometimes I'll say, hey, how much time should your person be out selling? How much time should they spend doing administrative work? How much time should they spend with current customers? And I get them to commit to those numbers. And then I go talk to the salespeople, and rarely do those numbers mesh. And if we can't get that right, if we can't get time expectation down, then productivity expectations aren't even going to be close. So provide the clarity that your people need around what you expect, how you expect them to get it done, where you expect them to work, what the ideal customer profile is, and then what resources and tools they have at their disposal to get the job done, and how you expect that branded experience to happen with your customers and prospects.
Super impactful. And I think that clarity, being clear, may be our word or statement for 2026 here, which I love. So if a leader does actually build the right survival toolkit, they get everything there, they build it for where they are right now. What's on the other side of kind of doing this well? I know you've said a few ideas, but what would be a great result here?
Revenue. Is there anything else? I mean, sure, people
Yep.
people are going to feel good. I mean, yeah, sure. Let's go down the list of the feel good work scenario. People are going to feel good. We'll hug. We'll have pizza parties, and maybe we'll do an excellence party at the end of the year in Cancun or whatever. All that, yeah, sure. All that's great. Revenue. That's what it is. It's revenue. It's going to drive revenue. And sales solves all problems. When you have revenue flowing in, then everything else then you can make those structural changes to your tech. Then you can add on things and experiment with things and try new roles and all those other things. But if the economic engine isn't running and you don't have the revenue producing a solid income for your owners or leaders and all of the salespeople working for you, then everything's going to be tense.
Revenue drives all. It's so true. It's almost, that's like your final truth bomb. That's like your mic drop. Do this and produce revenue.
There is no other thing. We're in sales. People say, well, what do you expect salespeople to do? There's only one answer: produce revenue. That's it. If they're not doing that, get them out. Move them on. It's revenue. There's nothing else.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, listen, like money may not bring happiness, but it certainly makes like all the rest of the processes and decisions a hell of a lot easier. So, yeah. All right. So Mark, like this coming year, like you're our first guest for 2026, which I appreciate. So this year, what we're going to be asking people is, instead of their motivational quote that keeps them going, we want to know what their walk-up song is, right? So like you enter into a room, what is the anthem that you want playing behind you that tells everybody this is what's about to happen?
I know I'm going to get teased for this, but Taylor Swift, You Need to Calm Down. I think that's it.
I love it.
That's got to be it. Like, just chill out, man. It's just work. Have fun. Simplify. Relax. Do the right things. Don't overcomplicate. Calm it down.
I'll be honest. I feel like we should have led this conversation with the interesting fun fact of you being a Swiftie.
Yeah.
Bedazzled shoes, bedazzled outfits. Hey, bracelets. I'm loving this. But I think we need to play this.
Did you make the Eras tour?
No.
Did you make the Eras tour? Or have you watched the documentary? Like, how far in this Swift situation are we?
I did. I got to see the documentary. I listened to. I was on day of release for the new album. I played it in the car 3 times. I had it on loop in the office so I could hear it. Yep. It was. I'm down with it.
I love it. Listen, Mark.
Musical genius.
Do you have the bracelets, Mark?
I don't.
I'm going to get my nieces to make you one.
Okay. I would wear it.
Mark, listen, the level of commitment is just on another level. And that is honestly why we love you so much. So thank you so very much. Listen, this was packed with a ton of insights. And honestly, I kind of think we need to do a part 2, not necessarily because of the Taylor Swift thing, but I think we need to go a little bit deeper, maybe provide people with some insights. Maybe we could shoot for something in early Q2. Now that they've seen sort of what's going on in Q1, we might have some additional advice for them. Maybe we could dive a little bit deeper, but I think we definitely have a second version, part 2 going.
Yeah, we can definitely do some kind of follow up. I think that would be great for people to check in. I would also, if you don't mind, I did come with a quote, and since we already talked about this clarity conversation, I want to drop the quote on you because I think it is going to be one of the things that I work into my keynotes and stuff this year. I've said it for a long time, but the quote is, "You're entitled to clarity. You are entitled to clarity."
Love it.
I don't believe we're entitled to much at work, but it doesn't matter if you're an individual contributor, brand new salesperson, or you're the head of sales for a multi-billion-dollar organization. You are entitled to clarity, because if you don't have clarity, then everyone behind you is going to be confused. So that's my quote of the year right there. You are entitled.
I love it.
2026 word of the year, clarity. I think that's exactly perfect. And this was exactly the reality check that I feel sales leaders needed to kickstart January with where we're at. So Mark, if anyone listening, all of our audience, everyone out there, where can they find you to connect, learn more, all of that fun stuff?
Yeah. So WinSource Group is the name of my company. You can look it up. We have a great website. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Farmers Only. I don't know, you wherever. I'm in all whatever social platform you would normally hang out. I probably have a profile. You just Google. I've worked hard at Mark Winter Sales is my handle on most social profiles. And I learned from a marketing person years ago to have a little bit of personal branding. So I took that step. Not hard to find. Just type it in. I'll pop up.
If you see Mark at an event, I'm telling, make sure you go over and introduce yourself, because this man has some epic recommendations for places to go and eat and all kinds of stuff. Like, he knows the hot spots. Doesn't matter what city it is. He's got a favorites list. So make sure that you connect with him at any events you see.
Just not in Cleveland yet.
Not in Cleveland. Not in Cleveland.
We'll figure it out. We'll get in touch with the Bumpus.
Yes, that's right. We got to hook this up sometime before the springtime. So we got a couple of months. We got like Q1 to find somebody in Cleveland that I can do some consulting work with.
Listen, it's out there. You've put it in the universe. Now we just need to make it happen. Like, we just need a new prospect for you to go and visit Cleveland. So anyone in the Cleveland area, make sure they reach out and talk to you.
I'm down with it. Thank you guys for the promotion.
Yeah, Mark, thank you for being seriously so generous with your time, all of your insights, all the work that you do to make truly sales leaders better and really this entire industry better. And we're so grateful that you kind of brought all of that and shared it with us and our audience and all of our listeners that are out there. We super appreciate you. So thank you.
Same here. Thanks for the time.
So listen, if you think you came to this episode thinking new markets, new tech, new hires, hopefully you're leaving with a different answer, figuring out where you actually are, building a kit that you actually need. And remember, the work is the strategy.
And if you're now experiencing our 2026 word of the year, clarity, or you have an irrational urge to kind of simplify everything, or an unshakable, I feel like shake it off, like Taylor Swift as well. But
Swifting again?
Exactly.
Well
We're going
played.
to throw some Swifty statements, but an unshakable sense that you actually don't know what to do next. Don't panic. It just means it's working. So consult your leadership and sales team if these symptoms actually truly persist.
That is a perfect prescription, Erin. Listen, thank all of you out there for joining us in order to discuss this sales leader survival kit. We will see everyone on the next episode of Highly Adaptive. We'll see you.
See ya.
Big thanks to Allied Insight, not just our sponsor, but an industry leader and preferred marketing partner to staffing and consulting businesses nationwide. If your firm is looking for expert-level support that goes beyond the logo, you know where to go, alliedinsight.com. If this episode helped you, share it with your friends and colleagues and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're there, consider leaving us a review, and when you're ready for more industry insights, articles, case studies, and more, find it on allthingsstaffing.com. This episode was produced and edited by Allied Insight, and the music provided by Home Music Stock. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.